And I want to look at him and be like, was he always this way, or did you just find out later? Because if you dated him and got to the point where you stood in front of God and man and said, I do to this guy, you're either really stupid or a masochist. And in my mind, I'm thinking, is there anything good about this guy? What made you want to be with this guy in the first place? But here's what happens a lot of times with these women. They've spent so much of their energy, so much of their time, focusing on everything that he isn't, every way that he's failed them in their expectations, that they've lost the good things in this guy and haven't thought about those for years. And if we would just, listen, I'm not talking about denial. I'm not preaching denial. I know that we fail each other. It's going to happen. We should have known that when we signed up. But if we focus on those failures all the time, how can this thing grow? We need to focus on the positive in each other, to accentuate the positive, to applaud the positive. Listen, it's a leadership adage. What is rewarded is repeated. If you can learn to encourage your spouse when they do things that are loving towards you and honorable, if all your spouse ever hears from you is how they're such a loser, then they're going to be a loser. But if you encourage them, listen, every time Eleanor asks me if she looks, heavy in this garment or how does this look, my answer is automatic. You're the most beautiful woman in the world. You're as hot today as you were when I married you. You're hotter. Get over here. Shame on you guys who belittle the appearance of your wife. Shame on you women who look down on your husbands because he's not able to pay for all the stuff you want. You lift each other up in your eyes. You praise each other. You honor each other. And as you do that, listen, love will grow. That's how this works. Quit walking around being so sad about marriage, so disillusioned, disappointed. Love that guy. Love that woman. Appreciate them. Choose those things. It's a matter of discipline. We wake up every day and we get to choose who we serve. Is it going to be God or us? And we get to choose what we see. Is it the good or the bad? You choose the good. When Eleanor and I were on one of our anniversaries, I don't even remember when it was, babe, but you wrote out the thing on the, she wrote out this list of things that she loved about me. It was long. It was it was wallpaper. I mean, it was just, No, she wrote out this little list of things, 10, 15 things, and she framed it. And for a long time, it sat in the bathroom of our bathroom. And I would wake up every day, shaving my face, and looking at this list and being reminded that my wife thinks I'm pretty great. And you got to know that when I read it on those days, I'd walk out of that room, I'd go give her a kiss, and I'd go to work that day feeling like marriage is pretty cool. Here's your assignment for this week. I want you to do what Eleanor did. Go buy a frame or break, whatever. Get a frame in your house. I want you to take a piece of paper. You can type it. You can write it. I don't care. But I want you to write 10 or 15 things about your spouse that you are so thankful to God for, that you admire in them. And I want you to make each other a picture. Sometime this week, I want you to swap pics. And I want you to put those pictures, those lists, somewhere where you're going to see them often. And I want you to remember from each other the things that each other loves about you, about each other. And just see if that doesn't change some of the vibe that's been going on in your relationship. We need to choose to accentuate the positive. And when we do, great things can happen. Let's finish up, talk about forgiveness, shall we? Once we've learned to love each other the way God loves, then we can stand on the second leg and we can forgive each other as God forgives us. We're going to see Solomon speak. It's the first time we hear from him other than the, hey, my dove. It's the only time that he speaks in this part of the story. He says in verse 4, I'm sorry, I skipped some stuff. Look at chapter 6, verse 1. Where is your lover gone, most beautiful of women? Where is your lover gone? Which way did your lover turn that we may look for him with you? I think the girls are like, wow, does he have a brother? Wow, this guy sounds pretty good. I hope he's got, some other genetic material out there. She says, my lover, I know where my lover is. My lover has gone down to his garden, to the beds of spices, to browse in the gardens and to gather lilies. This woman knows her husband. She hasn't hit the bar. He hasn't hit the bars with his friends. He hasn't gone out to blow off steam in his Camaro. He's gone to their private garden. They're on their grounds. And he's just waiting for her. Perhaps he's praying for her. But he's not going anywhere. And what's it say there? He's picking lilies. He's picking her some flowers for the very moment when she finds him and they can have that reconciliation time. She says, I am my lover's, verse 3, and my lover is mine. It's a repeat of a claim that they had made in earlier chapters. She's remembering their commitment to each other, and she says, listen, I know the character of my husband. Even though I've treated him poorly, he's not going anywhere. Everybody look at me. Divorce is not a word that should be uttered in Christian marriage. Did you hear me? When you stood before God and man, and you said, I do, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, you said, I don't, in any of those cases, to divorce. It's just not an option. I know in our culture, it's irreconcilable differences or whatever you want to call it, and let's go our own ways and try again. For Christian marriage, it's just not the case. There's exceptions, sure. Adultery, non-Christian spouse leaving you. Okay. But even in those situations, church, divorce shouldn't be your first option. We should live our lives in the midst of these conflicts with this confidence that no one's going anywhere. In fact, when I sit down with Eleanor, and we've had some doozies over the course of our marriage, we had the 7-year itch. Did anybody have the 7-year itch? We got 7 years into our marriage. We had 3 kids. I was working and going to school. She was working a second job so that we could pay our bills. And we just got tired, frustrated, fed up. I mean, that's as close as either of us has ever gotten to wanting out. But the undercurrent of our relationship was this. No one's going anywhere. It's not an option. So if no one's going anywhere, let's figure this out. Let's work on this. Let's try to do this better. And that's by God's grace what we did. So many of us, we keep our bank accounts separate, our assets separate. We keep all these things separate. Why? Because we're just getting ready. We're just setting ourselves up in case we got to get out of this thing quick. That's not oneness. That's hedging your bets. No, it's not a word that's uttered. It's a cuss word. It's the worst cuss word in our marriage. She says, I'm my lover's and my lover is mine. He's picking me flowers. I'm going to go and make this right. And that's what he does. Look what he does. He forgives. He says, you are beautiful, my darling, as Tisra, as lovely as Jerusalem, 2 beautiful cities in the nation of Israel. You're as majestic as troops with banners. Now he says, you're like Braveheart. You're like my favorite guy flick. I mean, you're even better than that. He says, turn your eyes away from me. They overwhelm me. He says, don't even look at me. He says, listen, I don't want to make this about what I was after earlier. I don't want this to be, the hot, passionate makeup time. That's not what this is about. I want this to be about us reconnecting relationally. He says, look what he does. He says, your hair is like a flock of goats descending from Gilead. Have you heard this before? Who's been here? This is what he said on the wedding night, isn't it? Look what he's doing. He's saying today is no different than the first day that I married you.